Right, so you should be able to see my screen now. So welcome everybody to how to stay optimistically full in 2020. And it's important that we actually do that for sure, because not 2020, 2020 is already gone, right? 2022 is definitely here for us as business leaders and people who are involved in our teams, because we need to be making sure that we're staying on it for sure. It's great to have you with me, and by all means, please just use this to share and talk. And hi, Tara. It's not live on LinkedIn because I'm going to be presenting on Zoom. So hopefully there may be some over there, but nobody's come through to me to say that they want to, they're not getting through on live LinkedIn, but I've plastered the Zoom link everywhere. So thanks for asking, Tara. And do put anything else in the chat if you think that's relevant. Thank you. I won't keep you all very long at all. I want you to stay optimistically full in 2022. So I'm going to race through this. Get your pen and paper ready. This is being recorded as well. And I look forward to just spending some time with you this evening, just to really engage in what's happening with our world and our businesses, and in terms of optimism. And so when I looked at BBC and CNN, because I knew that I'd be having some American friends joining me as well today, I thought of a couple of things that were going on the news items. And obviously, you can see there a picture of our dear Boris, that's our Prime Minister here in the UK, who's having a little bit of a hard time. And the words being used there are a serious threat to our PM, Prime Minister. And then underneath there, obviously, we have tsunami that's taking place. And we are having a challenge with that because it's affecting our climate. It's making us think and become either optimistic or pessimistic. We've also got just underneath there as well, why your new phone could disrupt flights and ground planes. In fact, actually, if you've got a new phone, just watching and hearing that news item would make you stop and think, wouldn't it? But would it make you feel apprehensive, which is what a lot of activities in our business does? Or does it make you want to do something really positive to make it work? Just to the left-hand side there, no, right-hand side, I picked out some from CNN. Electric robots are mapping the seafloor. These apps are trying to put car dealers out of business, and how this South African person is actually dealing with the NASA Apollo missions to the moon. All news items that either help you or don't help you. And that's why I felt it was important that we spent some time looking at our business optimism. Can we truly be optimistically full in 2022? That's a good question. But for those of you who don't know very much about me, I would normally at this point then just tell you who I am and what I do. But you know something? It's not really about certification or accreditation or qualification. I'm all about transformation. And so instead of telling you what qualifications I've got, I'm going to tell you about some transformations that have actually happened because I've been involved in business and emotional intelligence transformation for a number of years. Take, for instance, the picture of the Evoque Range Rover at the top there. The story here is that I actually did spend some time with the design engineers. The emotional intelligence trait of self-confidence was definitely there. They had competence, they had qualifications coming out of their ears. But guess what? They didn't necessarily think about their self-actualization emotional intelligence trait. It's all about thinking ahead, thinking forward, thinking about the future as to what the new Jaguar could actually look like, or the new Land Rover, or Defenders, or Discovery Range Rovers could look like. It took them 2 years, but eventually they came up with a new range of Range Rovers, of which the Evoque was one of the first ones at the time. That's where I get involved in emotional intelligence changes to businesses to create transformation. On the bottom left-hand side this time, I can see my hands going, right? St. John Ambulance, wow, what an amazing voluntary service for our major football events, concerts, etc., where they turn up and they provide first aid. for anybody who needs it. The story there is they are full, absolutely full of empathy. Why? Because they care about people and they will go to every length to support. That's a powerful business emotional intelligence trait. Keep that company going. It has to be full of empathetic people. However, where they had a challenge was when they had to be adaptable in their hierarchy. There was a lot of hierarchical changes going on in that company. And spending time with them over a 6-week period really helped them understand who they were as leaders, actually, because they were all leaders in their own right. When you think about it, if you're on the ground needing first aid, you don't really mind who or what role or what rank is looking after you. You just know that somebody has led themselves to give you the support that you need. A major turnaround for them. And then bottom right-hand side, network rail track workers. John, I know you can relate to this one especially, in terms of the fact that actually these track workers were given a system. Think about where you work. Think about the areas you work in, and bringing in new IT systems requires change management. But how many people spend time really helping their people transform and change and adjust? So they were very strong in their self-confidence, but their flexibility for a new technological system was not as strong as you would have liked it to be. And that's where they needed some attention and some help to enhance their emotional intelligence flexibility trait. So that's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily talk about qualifications necessarily. Reason being, Forbes, I think, quoted in December 2020, emotional intelligence is probably as important as IQ. And therefore, if you don't use your technical skills and your professional and your business skills effectively, then actually your emotional intelligence needs to be aligned with it very carefully in order for you to be professionally successful and perform really well. So what is emotional intelligence? I keep it really simple in that it is about your self-awareness. It's about your self-awareness about you, how you consider others when you are with others as well, and how you regulate your self-awareness and how you manage your self-awareness. So think of yourself as a leader within your business. Think of yourself and how you relate to others in your team or across directorate or functions if you are in a large matrix organization. And how aware are you of their needs, their flexibility, their confidence, their optimism? And if your function or team are super optimistic already, fantastic. But if another team that you work with are not so optimistic, then how aware are you of how you regulate that optimism in order to work with them more effectively? So over to you now. What is your optimism journey? What's it like? Is it one of these glasses of water? So I'm just going to go quiet for a moment to just get you to think, and I want you to write down some notes here. Which glass are you currently at? And I don't mind if you unmute and just say as well. But I also want you to think about which glass would you prefer? Is it possible to be full and running over like the one on the far right? And if you're currently on the far left, then why is it in that condition? Is it possible to be on the far right and be realistically, optimistically full? And if not, then what's stopping you? And actually, where's the water coming from? So I want to give you 3 Ps to stay optimistic for 2022. I want you to have optimistic purpose. Now, the reason why I chose this particular picture, and those of you who know Denise knows I love images, so bear with me. But when you look through this lens, you are seeing a sunset that is stunningly beautiful. So think about your business goal, your business vision. How much focus are you placing on that? And where do you need to adjust to be able to focus on it really effectively? Because guess what? That sunset through that lens is not necessarily going to change. It's like your business dream, like your business goal, like your business vision is not necessarily going to change. But the steps to get there, if you focus on them, will help you to attain that final vision and goal. So in order to stay purposed, I need you to have intent. So the tip here is, what are your intentions for your current team, for you as a leader, for you and how you work with other leaders? What's the purpose of it and what is the intent? And take note and write that down for me if you could. I'd like you to then consider the second P, which is your optimistic passion. Get back to your why. And I was thinking about this the other day because I was talking to someone who was in construction, and I was thinking about when you actually build a house, you build a very good foundation, but that's not your ultimate passion. You might build some walls, but that's not your ultimate passion. When you finish that house, putting the windows in and the door is not your ultimate passion. But when you actually end up putting in a family who then create memories, that could be your end goal. That could be your passion. So think about your own particular business and what is it that you're doing? What is it you're working on? And why are you doing it? And readjust your thinking to stay optimistic. Readjust your thinking to, what are the benefits? What's the revenue I'm going to be accruing here? What's the sustainability? How am I going to help the world? What's the impact of what I'm really doing? Because then you need to write out again, and there's no harm in doing this at least every month. Once a month, sit down and write out your why for your team and for you as a leader. The last P is optimism or pessimism. Pessimism. I want you to bury pessimism. Reason being, your optimism can go up and down just like that glass of water. It can start empty, but over time it can go up and down like that, like a wave. And therefore, whilst that's happening, I would implore you, bury pessimism as much as you possibly can, whether that's self-talk or whether it's using some of the tips that I've got at the very end of this class tonight. And when I say celebrate, the celebration I'm talking about here is every single step, email, person, revenue, extra pound, extra dollar, whatever it is that you can do to just celebrate small steps and milestones, please do it. Because in 2022, none of us really know what we're going to attain. We've got the plans in place, we're going for it, we're staying focused, we're being passionate about it, but we can't predict everything. So start celebrating now. So my tip for you for this is to be accountable to a colleague. Find someone that you can stay optimistic with and have that accountability with that colleague as best as you can. Some other tips for you are not just to practice purpose and passion, but stay away from pessimism. And whether that's the pessimistic notes that you read, an email that you might get, a goal where somebody in the team might feel as if they cannot attain it, or whether it's even people, but seek out other people who are in that same mindset as you to keep you optimistically full. Embrace and learn from failure, because there will be some failures along the way. We all know that as business leaders, right? But try a new way of doing tasks as well, because that can also make a difference. So I want to leave you with one final thing before we close this call, because I know I said to you it's short and sharp, and I know you are all very busy people. But consider this. This is David, carved out by Michelangelo hundreds of years ago. But the one thing that he said about it as to how he was able to actually stay optimistic when all he had was a piece of rock was this: you must chip away everything that doesn't look like David. When right now in front of you, all you have is a block of rock and you're trying to create something amazing to impact the world, just chip away so that everything eventually looks like David. And so there's more emotional intelligence. I've kept it really short and sharp as best as I could for you today. But think about your leaders, think about your teams and how, one, you could probably have an assessment report for them that could help you identify what's going on in my team. Where are my strengths? Like I showed you for the St. John Ambulance, like the Jaguar Land Rover team. I was able to identify where their self-confidence was, where their self-knowing was, where their actualization was, their optimism levels, and work with them to get great results. So do come back to me if there are any further questions. Our next masterclass, I've been asked to do another one. I'm going to do it next Wednesday, and that's called How to Work on Your Empathy for Business Leaders and Teams, because more than anything, that is one of the most powerful traits right now that is absolutely needed for sure. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop the recording and take any questions that anybody might have at this point in time.